Spirit Talkers is brought to you by Southwest Trading Company. Southwest Trading Company is located in Tulsa, Oklahoma at 1306 East 11th Street. Southwest Trading Company is an indigenous-owned business. They have a lot of items like jewelry, blankets, clothing, art, home decor, collectibles, and so much more. Go follow and like their Facebook page to keep up with all events at the store and where they may be setting up. And once again, that is Southwest Trading Company, located in Tulsa, Oklahoma, 1306 East 11th Street. Let them know Spirit Talkers sent you. This podcast is brought to you by Native Co. Bead and Supply, a native-owned and operated craft supply store, founded to give native artists a way to craft and sustain their creative minds in helping everyone create indigenously. You can shop online at nativecobeadsupply.com or in store at 520 West 12th Street, Ada, Oklahoma, and let them know Spirit Talkers sent you. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Spirit Talkers.
It's Jay.
We are back after a fun-filled weekend last weekend.
Yep.
At the Native American Christmas market.
Mm-hmm.
We were live, so if you missed us, that's on you.
That's right. Yeah.
We sent that out there. We said, come see us. Come tell us your stories. We had one person tell us a story.
But we did see Indian Santa. I'll say that. That was pretty good.
That was awesome.
Indian Santa was cool.
He came on. He came on the live too.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
He smelled like fried bologna too.
Mm-hmm. Yep. The real Santa scent.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. He told everyone to be good, and he's gonna be by. So you better leave out some Pepsi and bologna.
That commodity cheese on it too.
Ooh. There we go. And that egg.
He said, "Don't be cheap either." No.
But that was cool. No, it was a good event or market. I mean, so shout out to Trisha Fields for hosting the market, the 12th annual Native American Christmas Market 2023, and for letting us go live for a little bit. It was fun.
She had some good arts and crafts vendors, some artists there. Man, I tell you what, anything you wanted to get, they had basically.
Yeah. There was like over 50 vendors, maybe 60, but there was a lot to look for, a lot to see, and it was a 2-day event. It was Friday and Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, it was Saturday and Sunday.
They had that one vendor had that fix-a-flat and jumper cables, and you name it, boy. I tell you what, that was super Indian right there, boy.
Fix-a-flat. Had the ooze.
Ah, had that cheap fix-a-flat too. Didn't even have no name. Just had that picture.
But yeah, it was a good event. It was a good turnout. A lot of people there. A lot of shoppers got their shopping on. And shout out to Eli McConnell from Pinky's Woodshop. If you look right there. I don't know if I'm in the way or not. That's why I moved. But if you look over there, that's a piece he did out of wood. He works with a lot of wood. He cuts it up and he makes art. And so it's a beautiful piece. He gifted it to the Spirit Talkers, and we want to always just kind of put it there so it can get some shine from our viewers. And if you have anything you want commissioned, made, worked on, whatever.
Is it like a website and stuff?
But it's Pinky's Woodshop, Pinkeys Woodshop. He doesn't have a website, but he is on Instagram, Facebook. Eli McConnell is his name, so hit him up, and like Chris said, get you that cedar box. Or what else did you say? You said a bunch of stuff.
I don't know, but that wood carving right there is pretty cool.
Yep, any kind of art piece you would want out of like wood carvings, hit him up, man. It's in person. He showed me a picture of it on our messenger, and when I saw it in person, I mean it's got some weight to it, and it's fixed up pretty nice. I don't know the proper terms of art. Maybe a gloss or stain is on that. But there's a face coming out of that middle part. But yeah, hit up Pinky's Woodshop and let them know we sent you over there.
Yep.
And there's something else somebody else I want to thank. I can't remember who it is.
Well, let's thank everybody.
Yeah, let's thank all the listeners.
All the listeners out there, all the people that send in stories, people that promise stories but never made stories. We want to thank y'all too for that. That's good. And all the ones that came and brought us something to eat, especially at that event, something to eat and something to drink, and all the ones that's invited us out throughout the year. We definitely want to invite those guys. Want to thank them too. We've got to go a lot of cool places this year and do a lot of amazing stuff, and we got to do different shows with other people, and we've gotten to be around. So, if we didn't come to your reservation this year, there's always next year. You guys can invite us out, feed us. We'll come and tell stories and or whatever you'd like. I know Russell does all kinds of stuff. So
Chris will lift. He will.
I don't know about that guy, but
we're coming to 2024 strong.
Yep.
And Chris is gonna be able to lift a tire.
Yeah, you don't want me to break out these guns, boy. They call them cannons, like that way, boy. God, they be drooping like that, boy.
What was your favorite spot this year?
Dang, I enjoyed myself everywhere. I mean, I don't know, all the places we've gone, we've got to see, some magnificent things, some spooky stuff, all the stories, I tell you what, I just truly been blessed throughout this year, and I just can't, I mean, they're all phenomenal, every one of them we went to, we've done, we've got to see some pretty cool things, hear some awesome stories, meet some cool people, fans out there, that came out and showed their support, their love, for us, that was just amazing. I really enjoyed, visiting with each and every one of you guys, listening to your stories, getting to know you as a person, and it meant a lot to me, to come to your area and to be welcome so much. Mado.
Oh, I know what I was going to say. Thank you and shout out to Magnez Podcast.
Oh, yeah. He was pretty cool, too.
Yeah, he had you on. When did you guys do that? Like, when was the proper time you guys had that podcast?
I don't know. It was real quick. He messaged one day, and then he called, and then it was done. I mean, it was... I know it was like right before Thanksgiving though, because I think I was out or off work, and it all happened in one day. It was pretty cool. And he was telling me about his foot, how he hurt his leg, and stuff like that. And so I thought that was pretty cool. He did he brought some pretty spooky stories to that episode too, and I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah. I listened to it yesterday on my way to Oilton, and a lot of stuff Chris held out on, telling me. Especially about the movie Killers of the Flower Moon.
Yeah. He talked about that too, and I don't know. I just never really mention it, or because I don't know. I don't think anybody'd ever see me in there, because everything's so fast. But it seems like wherever I go, or I get a lot of messages too that everybody's seen me in the scenes and stuff like that. And so again, I appreciate each and every one of you guys for finding me in that movie. I thought that was pretty cool. But
yeah, I got some messages too on Instagram and Facebook, and they were just like, "Is that Chris in Killers of the Flower Moon?" And I just say, "I don't know, maybe." No, I say, "Yeah, it is actually, yeah." And then they're like, "I thought it was. I thought that was Chris." Oh, Honka.
Yeah, Honka Hill was even in Killers of the Flower Moon.
But yeah, and then somebody on Instagram said the same thing, and they just said like, "Yeah, I thought that was Chris. I'm gonna have to watch it again because I wasn't too sure if that was him or not."
Yeah.
And I said, "Better just go to YouTube. We're on there."
Yeah. If you have questions, what they call that at the end of the movie, the credits.
Oh yeah,
my name's right there. They pause it right there. No, I'm just kidding. No, but yeah, my name's actually on there. I thought that was pretty cool, and I had a good time, and it was definitely an experience I'll never forget.
Yeah. So shout out to Chris for being in the movie, and go watch it if you haven't yet. If you haven't had the chance, it might be on Apple. What's it called? Apple app on your TV or your phone.
I think right now it's on Amazon and Hulu, I believe. Mm-hmm. But I know it's on Amazon. So if you guys get a chance, go watch it. There's a lot of Osages and Cherokees and Creeks that are in that movie, that you'll get to see. And it's pretty good. Like I said, it was an awesome experience to work with those phenomenal actors and actresses that you'll see in that movie, and it was pretty cool.
Yeah. So you heard it here. Everybody can hear it here and know that Chris was in the movie.
Yep. Y'all shout out Honka Hill when y'all see me. No, I'm just kidding. But I also want to, commend, Russell. There's a lot of things he's done throughout the year. That I think, for a young native guy, to accomplish, he's done a lot throughout this year, and again, I'm very impressed, very proud of him, all the things that he's accomplished, all the things that he's done, because he's put a big major mark on Indian country for all of us, not just me, not just you, but everybody out there that's doing things. He's had a lot of people on his Okie podcast. He's interviewed several people, and he's gotten to do some great shows throughout the year. I'm always impressed to seeing what he's got coming up next. I knew he was in Oklahoma City. He did a few things down that way, and, just very impressed with all the things that he's done, But I will say probably the most impressive thing that I can say about him, is his kind heart. And, I know now, he's exercising, working out, trying to do good things for himself, and we all should strive for that, strive to, exercise our mind, body, and spirit, and nephew over here is really doing that. He's becoming a real good role model amongst our native tribes. Mado for that.
Thank you, Unks. And don't mind this. No, I'm cutting down on the soda. I mean, I was telling Jason Sunday back in April, May, when I told you I was like 390, I was drinking like 3 liters a day.
Yeah.
Of soda. And it was so crazy, like, how addicted you can get to it.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, like, now, like, I'm really, like, trying to just, I don't think I could do cold turkey no more because I'm a lot older now. And so just take things slow. And the whole working out thing, I mean, that's like, I've been wanting to do that for a while, but now I like to be held accountable. So, like, posting my clips of me working out and stuff, it's more of like people seeing it and being like, hey, did you not work out today or something, you know, just to keep going. And then, like, it's cool to hear people, because when I went to that Snotty Nose Rez concert, I met some people that listen to Spirit Talkers, and then they'd be like, where's Chris at? And then that's when you had your event too. And I said, oh man, I was like, we came here for an invite and stuff, and then it was crazy because they were like, we seen your workout videos, and it's like motivating to get me to start working out. And I was like, do it. I was like, just start. I was like, because there's no perfect time to start, because I wanted to start when I was at least maybe under 300, but I got to 330, and then I was just like, why wait? Like, just start doing it now, and then just see what happens. And then so
I'll be honest, you know, I seen you get out there and you was flipping that big old tire. I thought, dang, that's pretty cool. It's like Rocky type workout. I thought, dang, I better go out there and try it. And then I went out and I found one of them. I looked at it and I kind of weighed it, and I thought, dang, boy, if I try to pick that up, you'll be hearing my back go. So I'm real impressed that, you know, you're able to take that thing and flip it around. I said, man, that guy's got to be strong to be able to do all that. And then I seen you pick that, what is that looked like big old hammer.
Oh, that sledgehammer.
And do that. And I thought, man, that's hardcore right there, boy. I was inspired, but then I had to come back to reality. Say, man, I can't do that, boy. I'll be laid up in the hospital, emergency room, back just be broke.
Yeah, I think like the main, I hate using the word goals because sometimes it just kind of pinpoints your mindset. But I guess like the main goal is like strongman type of movements now. Like at least like moving in general, like I've done all the like 3 sets of 10 and all that, and CrossFit and jiu-jitsu and everything. And I've done all that, and I've always wanted to try like strongman type of movements and workouts, and I bought that tire over the summer, and it's been sitting back there for months. I've just been afraid to use it, like intimidated. But I mean, it's just like, just do it. You just have to start and see what happens. And so, but that tire, and what intimidated me more was I didn't weigh it, but I looked up the weight of it. And just without the rim, it's like 250 pounds.
Dang.
And because I looked up the tire and I said, how much does this weigh on Google? And it said like 250 to like 260 possibly. And I was like, man, I don't know if I could do that.
So when you do that, are you using just your arms, or what are you using?
I'm squatting, so I get down low as I can, and I just kind of push up. And I'm using my legs, not my back or anything. But yeah, I guess some arms too, because like I have to grip it and bring it up. But the hardest thing I would say so far, I worked with a kettlebell and I did lunges, and lunges are my kryptonite. Like lunges will work my entire legs, my thighs, and that next day I was dead. My legs are dead, and I could like barely walk. And I even do like a cold plunge. Like I sit in 30-degree water for like 7 minutes.
Dang.
Yeah. And so that's helped me with recovery and soreness, and just because it really does help. Like I think if I didn't do that, I would just be, I probably would have stopped. But it helps with like recovery and everything. And I have like a personal sauna that I bought off Amazon, so I sit in that sometimes too. And it's like $60. I'm not rich, everybody, but When people hear sauna, they go, "Dang, you got a sauna?" But it's like a little zip up thing, and it pumps in like steam from this like, it looks like a pressure cooker, but it's not. But it pumps in that steam in there, and it's just like a little steam room. So it's like $60 on Amazon. You can go get it too. But yeah, I do that and all that stuff. Like I'm trying to be smarter, a lot smarter with what I do and how I recover and like what I'm trying to put in my body and stuff. Because I mean, getting older is crazy. I was telling somebody, I said, I can't do like I used to when I was like 16, even like 23, 24. Like I could just go hard, but I just can't no more. Like, but I mean, it's cool. I'm gonna keep going. I mean, and I always say, don't wait, start now. I mean, because if you wait, people like to do, I'm gonna wait till the new year, but it's like, why? Like, just start. Just go ahead and start now. Like, and look at yourself when the new year comes. Right? Like, I don't know, but go work out, everybody. Even if it's just a little walk around your neighborhood, you don't have to do what I do. Just get that sun on you. You know, Mother Earth. Get these nutrients in you, and just move. Just move around. Just move. I mean, that's all it is.
Well, good job on that. You know, I encourage you to keep doing that. I mean, that was very impressive. I was pretty impressed with that.
Mm-hmm. And then me and Chris were talking earlier, and we were talking about Porham, Oklahoma, because like I lost a lot of weight over the summer, but that was because I was just moving around, filming stuff, and we had some shows, and I had other shows, and Porham. We went to Porham, Oklahoma, and it was hot.
Super hot.
It was so hot. When was that? Like end of July?
Something like that. It was so hot it melted some of our equipment. That's how hot it was.
Because I got there around 4, and that sun was just beaming, beaming on me. And Chris got there, and I was telling him, man, I was like, I don't know if I could do this.
That was pretty tough. I have to say that, man. That was crazy, though.
But next year we'll be ready.
Yeah. Have that astronaut suit ready, boy.
Oh, but yeah, I mean, and I guess we'll always want to try something a little different. I've been wanting to do this with Chris, so if you have any, like, if you see any spooky videos, or if you maybe have one, I mean, send it to us, and we'd like to watch it and maybe react to it, or I don't want to say review it. That kind of just sounds like something you do with the movies, but they can just say it's fake. No, just kidding.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, I don't know, just something to like, just something to talk about, and then we'll do like, because I have this like the new year's gonna start, and I just kind of wanted to feel out how this would go, but start doing like other, like building more within Spirit Talkers, because a lot has changed, and I don't know, I just want to make it fun for everybody too. So I mean, like, if you see any stories, or not stories, but videos on TikTok or reels on Facebook or Instagram, send them to me or Chris, and we could watch them during the show, and then I'll post a video within the show so y'all can see what we're looking at. And I thought this one was interesting, and I wanted to show Chris this one.
Don't move in there. No, there's a motorcycle. See?
I don't see nothing down there. Can't be the motorcycles, honey. There's another sparkle. You see what I'm
What's
saying?
that? What is that?
Tree.
No. You moved it, right? Right there. See it?
Uh-huh.
Look.
There's nobody there. Where? I can't see.
Look. Isn't it those people?
Can't be.
There's nobody.
Not up in the
down
trees.
there. There's nobody down there no more. See?
Yeah, it looks like they're marching.
Yeah, it looks like they're moving through that field. You know, I was telling Russell this. I've been to Gettysburg, and I've been, there in that area, and I've got to visit that place. And I will definitely say, if you ever get a chance to go visit that place, I would really recommend that. They got a lot of cool places to stay in town. And a lot of that, again, it's got a lot of history, and even that battlefield that's right out, that's where they're filming this at. Mm-hmm. Even during the daytime, you'll hear and see things. And so, to me, that's a pretty active place, that Gettysburg. So if you guys are out there and in that Pennsylvania area, I would definitely go check it out. They have a place not too far from that there called Hershey, Pennsylvania. It's where that chocolate factory's at. Mm-hmm. But they also have a huge powwow. I don't know if they still got it, but way back then they used to every year have an annual powwow over there. And that's what brought me down there. And as soon as I got a chance, I ran over to Gettysburg to check it out. And again, if you're into the paranormal, that's a place where you can get some stuff. I mean, that's just like this video right here. You'll catch stuff like that, And when I went there, it was, I don't know, early 1990s, somewhere around there. Mm-hmm. And so I had old school, what do they call them, like camcorder. That great big one, that big one looked like TV station thing, and anyway, had a what they call it, a VHS videotape that you put in there, and quality was real poor, but I mean, still yet I was able to catch a few things.
Oh, did you?
So unfortunately, I don't know whatever happened to that video, but this right here is good enough right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a story on Facebook. There's a couple pages I follow, and people post stories on there. I forgot the name of it, but I've been wanting to show Chris this video for a while now. But I remember reading that story, and some guy was in at this place, and it was daytime, and all of a sudden he was with his wife, I believe, and he heard this like man yelling, like and it was far away, and it just kept getting closer and closer. And all of a sudden, he felt something like hit him. And in the story, he was saying, I don't know what that was. He's like, but from what I feel like it might have been was a man yelling in war, charging, with their gun and running into me like he was stabbing me. He's like, but I just felt like something pushed me. And it didn't hurt. He just said, I felt like this power or something just trying to knock me over or something. And he just said and after that, it was the yelling stopped, and then we just kind of went on our day. Yeah. And so it was like, he mentioned that about Gettysburg, and I said, yeah, I thought to myself, it probably was like an old person in war, cause they would do that. They would charge, and they would all go collide with each other.
I know, I think there's several reasons why that place is so active. One, they had major battles there. That's probably the main reason. But, even back in the early 1990s, when I went, they still had reenactments. And they were pretty accurate, in those reenactments. You had, both sides, and they'd get out there and they would play around like they were battling it out, and so, with them doing stuff like that, you're going to get activity. These spirits, kind of see something similar or people dress like them, they're going to try to interact. I remember asking, a lot of those store owners there, have they had experience? And, And a lot of them, they would talk about, you would hear, shuffling the feet, you hear, guns going off. But the craziest thing I thought I heard was, several stories about them hearing about those drums.
Oh, yeah.
Those military drums. And even sometimes those bugles, when they would, attack or retreat, they'd have certain sounds. Anyway, I remember staying in a hotel there, and this was late at night, and I heard those drums and I heard those horns.
Whoa.
But, again, whether that was my imagination or whether that really took place, I had to really stop and think, did that really happen? Because again, I knew the history. I would listen to all the stories. I had interaction during the daytime. So to me, it only made sense that, even at nighttime, you would hear things like that. And, but, again, if you don't believe, I just say go there and get your own experience. You may experience something, you may not, I don't know. But I can say, as far as I go, when I was there, that was a pretty active place. I'd love to go back. So if anybody wants to send me, I'll be willing to go.
That'd be awesome. Before we watch the next one, when you were there that first time, how did you feel? Like, did you feel like there was everything around you, or?
Well, to be honest, different areas of that town had different feelings to me. Sometimes you would get what they would call those paranormal scents, like smoke and gunpowder. Even you would smell sickness. And what I mean by that is, I know like some of those buildings were used as places where they used to amputate people's, legs or arms or wherever they got hit that they couldn't fix. And so sometimes you would smell that, I don't know what you would call that sick smell, and if you've ever experienced that and smelt that, that's something you'll never forget, and so anyway, make a long story short, all through that town, especially the library, there had, several of those kind of imprints on it, and some of the hotels, and they didn't call them hotels, they called them, it wasn't bed and breakfast, but it was something, like a house back then. I'm sure they're B&Bs now, but back then they called them something different. I think boarding house or something like that. I can't remember, but anyway, they would rent these houses out, and you could stay there, and they would give you the history of the house, who had it, who owned it, what it was used for during, wartime and things like that. So you got a lot of history when you were there. Of course, you had to pay, but I'm sure it's a lot more expensive than when I was there. But, again, I just recommend, if you're into paranormal or you want to study, some of these, military battles, that's a place to go.
Man, yeah. Anybody want to send us over there? Go ahead and send us.
Yep.
We will check it out.
That's right.
Yeah, this is an amazing video. The person filming is claiming it's a Bigfoot. And yeah, I want to show Chris that one too, because I watched this one a while back, and I just haven't had a chance to show Chris.
It kind of looks like a monkey hanging on a tree, but again, you really can't make it out, or I can't make it out too well. But you do see a figure on the side of the tree that's pretty prominent, and then it just disappears. I don't know. I know they got a lot of technology out there, but I don't know. I'd like to believe that that's real because, again, I know those Bigfoot entities, they can do stuff like that. They can just disappear right in thin air. And to me, that's pretty good video to me. Again, I know everybody's going to say, oh, that's probably computer generated. They probably cartooned it in or something. I don't know, but it looks pretty good to me, though. But, until you experience something like that, will you ever truly believe?
True. Yeah, it's I keep watching it, and it's crazy that, because I know we've talked about Bigfoot, the entity, and all the things he can do, and we don't know what more he can do, right? Like there's so much that can possibly be possible with Bigfoot, and this video just shows a shadow figure, and it's like he's gonna get closer to it, and it just kind of looks like a part of a tree, to be honest. But towards the end, though, yeah, you see this figure. It's kind of just peeking out from this tree, and it's a small tree. It's a skinny tree, and whatever this thing is way bigger than it, and it's peeking out, and it's crazy because it just goes back, but it's like within the tree. And so I don't know. I mean, I believe it too. And this is from Cryptid University. So I don't know how they get their videos or who this even is, like who truly has credit of this filming, but I mean, it's we've done a Bigfoot episode and the things that he can do. And I've heard other stories too from other people. Just like I've heard people talk about how he can go into trees.
Yep.
And just they're like kind of portals, I guess. Like the trees can be portals for him. So I don't.
This area that you're showing the video of, it reminds me of when I was in Ohio. And I was looking for the famous grass man. That's what they call their Bigfoot entity over there. And, I was camped out upon this hill, and it looked kind of like that. It was a real wooded area and thick, too. And even as a person, if you wanted to run and hide in that woods, I mean, you could do it, and so that's what that kind of reminds me of. And, there were several times I got super close to that grass man, and he would just disappear. But, other things, when I was in that area, they always talking about these black bears that, very seldom do people get to see them. Dang, that's all I ran across was those black bears, too.
Really?
They were all through that woods. I'm like, dang, I must be in like a family of those black bears or something. But, what scared me, though, like I was telling you, that woods was so thick, whether you're human, bear, or Bigfoot, you could run and then you could hide in those trees. There were several times I lost track of where those bears were at. And that's what scared me, because I didn't want to come upon that bear and it get scared and attack, because I'm in its territory. And, you back an animal up into a corner, it's going to fight. And so when I would lose track of where this bear was at or this grass man was at, I just start heading the opposite direction because I didn't want to, spook it, whatever it was. I didn't want to spook it, and then we have to show them my guns like that. representing God. But
Honka Hogan.
yeah, there you go. Had to rip that shirt. So come on. No.
Call like that.
God.
To all sides of the forest.
God. Giving him that full horseman right there. Like that way. Well, God. So that's what you're going to get. But anyway, yeah, I'd start going the opposite direction because, I mean, those woods were thick and they were like that. I mean, you could lose sight of something real fast.
Yeah, that's terrifying. I mean, like, just being around bears, too. There's a video I saw of these people camping in this cabin, and it was early in the morning, and this black bear broke into their cabin, and the guy was trying to get something to drink, and the bear was, like, in the window part breaking in, and I guess you're supposed to... No one do this, but this is what he was doing. He ran at the bear screaming and not backing down and saying, like, get out of here. So I guess, like, what that does is it scares it away. You intimidate it. And like I said, no one tried this. This is what he did. And it just quickly, like, backed up out of the window and it got out of their cabin. And so he's saying, I don't know, like, if there's more research to that of intimidating a bear by being loud. So, but that's what happened in the video. So, but no one tried that. No one.
So they just ran up to him and punched him in the eye. That's bear said, oh.
That's what Chris Hill told me to do.
Yep.
No.
That's right. No.
It's crazy because, like, they used to be in Pawnee, black bears.
Mm-hmm.
They used to roam around Pawnee. And I remember hearing that when I was getting older because I always wondered why it was called Black Bear Creek. I saw it as a name. But they just said, people would say, like, no, there used to be black bears around Pawnee and around that creek area. You would see them.
Mm.
And so I was just kind of like, oh, man, that'd be crazy to see one.
You know, I worked up there at Oto, and they always said, you know, every now and then you might see one, you know, here and there, you know, that forestry department.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so Oklahoma's still supposed to have black bears. You know, they're supposed to be scarce, but, you know, yeah, they're still here.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, you never know. You might run across one or what. But I know growing up, I never thought about, you know, running across no bear, you know, being in Oklahoma. But now that I'm older and I talk to these forest guys, you know, they always say those black bears and those panthers.
Yeah.
They're pretty prominent around, you know, certain parts of Oklahoma. And then you got those big wildcats here, you know, and now every now and then around Skytook, you know, you might see one going across the highway, but it's not like every day, you know, just once in a great while you'll see one.
Like a cougar or like a mountain lion?
Mountain lion.
Man.
So just once in a great while, you know, you'll hear somebody reporting their dog missing or, you know, something like that, but they have these, I forget what they call them, they have this hunt once a year to kind of eliminate all those coyotes and bobcats and stuff like that. And they'll open it up for like a week. You know, you can go hunt as many as you want. You know, to kind of keep them down, I guess. So the numbers I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And so, like in Skytook, they get a lot of coyotes, and I don't know when the last time someone got a mountain lion in that area, but they say they're still pretty prominent in that area. So,
dang, that's just right down the road.
yep.
Yeah, I was reading a story about how black panthers, there's been sightings of black panthers throughout Oklahoma, and there's a write-up just about, like, is it true or is it false? But, I mean, there's a lot of people that claim that black panthers are here in Oklahoma, and so... Yeah, and I've heard about mountain lions around Oklahoma, and then are cougars and mountain lions the same thing? No, they're different. Okay,
I believe they're. I think the difference is one's bigger, and I don't know. I think cougars the
little smaller,
the female version.
Oh, really? Okay.
And mountain lion is the dude.
Okay.
I think. Don't question. I mean, don't take my word for that. Look it up, guys. You talking about Honker Hill trying to be scientific over here. So, but that's my understanding. You know, they're one's male, one's female, and one's bigger than the other. And yeah, Oklahoma's still supposed to have them, and Black Panthers too. I hear a lot of reports about them around Call
really?
Call City, and places like that. So,
And you were there.
I know it.
And Call.
I was there and calling them out. No, but yeah, they're Oklahoma's supposed to have all these predators like that. But how now? I will say, traveling on that Big Hill Road over there by Red Rock and Pawnee, I seen mountain lion cross the road over there. And, of course, you ask a lot of those people in the area, they say there's some that roam around there. And behind that Oto encampment area, there's supposed to be some that roam around back that way. And so, I know they say they have a lot of stories about them. So, I don't know.
That'd be scary. I don't know what I would do if I saw one. I'd probably put my phone out and record it, but...
I'd have that keen necklace. Next day, like that way.
Have that helmet. That mountain lion helmet.
Those ears like that. Sitting there. At the drum, even.
Those mountain lion sticks.
Got his tail. Beating that drum like that. Boy. Pointing at people.
Pointing at that couple. That one lie we're talking about that. How Lone Teepee just exposing people. The cheaters.
Cheaters edition. God, bro.
That was funny. Everybody on the live was like, dang you guys.
They turned us off on that one, boy.
Quit calling me out, guys. Did y'all see me? Telling on themselves on the live.
God.
But I think we'll get into what we wanted to talk about today.
Okay. Yeah.
Chris?
We were wanting to talk about, what was it?
Imaginary friends.
Oh, yeah. Imaginary friends. Apologize about that. He got me thinking about all kinds of stuff, man. Like, yeah, imaginary friends is this episode, and I know, non-native, I guess what you say, the clinical side of imaginary friends. They always say, it's a two-parter. In a way, it's good. People that can get or have imaginary friends. It's kind of a positive thing because it allows them to be able to be real good problem solvers. They say the part of their brain that does the analytical thinking part, is very strong. So they say people that had imaginary friends, it's a positive thing. It's a good thing. It means you're in the clinical sense, intelligently superior. But being native, when people would talk about imaginary friends, we consider that more spiritual. You talk to these other tribes and they talk about imaginary friends. A lot of times this was kind of the element that would help you prepare and pick your next, I don't know how you might say, your next medicine person within your tribe. And the reason that they would say that is because they believe that they were able to go into that other world, having those imaginary friends. And sometimes, with tribes, they didn't just consider it, spiritual thing. They had different beings out there that would communicate with children. There's several movies and several books, plays written about imaginary friends. One of the ones I used to like to watch is, I think it was called, was it Drop Dead Fred? Mm-hmm. He was kind of a comical character, and I always thought he was Seminole guy. Because he just couldn't act right. He was just always acting up, but he guided that little girl in a good way, and took care of him, and what was the other one that was, I had a whole list of them. Can't remember now.
Yeah, I looked up some. It might spark your memory. But there's one called Bogus. You ever watch that one? It's a Whoopi Goldberg.
Yeah.
Drop Dead Fred's on here.
What's some other ones?
Castaway's on here for some reason. But I guess because of Wilson.
Oh, that ball.
That ball.
Yeah. And that's an element too, that again, that's, where I was going to talk about that too, sometimes, in the clinical sense, they say when you have a lot of trauma, sometimes those imaginary friends come out and try to help you, and just like in that, what was that movie called again? Castaway?
Castaway. Mm-hmm.
Where the man, starts talking to that volleyball. Was it a volleyball?
Mm-hmm. There's a volleyball. Yeah.
And, he starts to, have that communication back and forth. What else is there? There's like Calvin and Hobbes. It's a cartoon. Mm-hmm. That little boy has this little tiger that he carries around, and when his folks are there, he's just a stuffed animal. But when his folks go away, the tiger begins to communicate, and they begin to write stories, and do all kinds of adventures, and things like that, and they also say, different sicknesses will cause that, to happen, and those to me, make a lot of sense to me too, because, in Indian Native American ways, they talk about those things. They talk about these spirits, as sicknesses. They consider them as humans or entities. And when you get that sick and you're communicating with these things, you need to go get help. You need to go to somebody that can help you take this off. Whether you do it Indian way or whether you do it the clinical way, which is the non-native way. And, again, you're looking at within Indian country, we have a lot of beings out there and a lot of spirits that go out there and kind of, do those kind of things, and whether you consider it natural or unnatural, they're not always bad. Some of them are good and helpful, just like, that one. What are some other movies? Because there was a couple of them I was wanting to talk about. I can't.
There's some I haven't watched on here, but it says Donnie Darko.
I can't remember that one. I've seen it, though.
Yeah, I've seen it, too. But a long time ago I watched it.
I thought that one was about drug dealer or something.
No, it's with Jake Gyllenhaal, and he keeps seeing that, like, rabbit.
Oh, okay.
In a costume.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't seen it in a long time. But the first time I watched it, I didn't really understand it. So maybe I should watch it again as an adult.
Yeah.
There's one called Hide and Seek. I haven't watched that one.
I think I've watched it, but I just can't remember what.
It looks like a scary movie. Jojo Rabbit. I haven't seen that one.
I seen that. That was pretty funny. I thought it was pretty crazy. But
there's one called Z. Just the letter Z.
I don't think I've seen that
Z'd
one.
out.
Yeah. That's what happens to you. No, I'm just kidding.
There's. They don't have a lot on here. Then they just have like Inside Out. It's like a Disney movie, I believe. Sylvia, Into the Who Knows, Imagined, Angels and Stardust, Paperman, Sundays, Tiffany's, Tideland. Apparently, there's a lot of movies I haven't watched. I watched Castaway though.
Yeah.
I remember Bogus when I was younger. As a Whoopi Goldberg, and it's with that kid. I can't remember his name. Well, I can look it up right here. But it's with Haley Joel Osment and just imaginary friend. No one else can see him but Haley Joel Osment. And Haley Joel Osment is the kid from Sixth Sense.
Well, I think that what was it? I can't think of the name of it. I want to say it's called Monsters. That little girl, she goes to sleep, and they.
You mean Monsters Inc.?
I guess, and all those little monsters come in and
Scare them.
Yeah, but she makes friends with that great big one.
Monsters Inc. Yeah,
and then you look at, I consider like Toy Story and stuff like that too. You know, that little boy. You know, he's kind of, I don't know, plays with those toys so much. He kind of brought them to life. You know, and they go after, you know, trying to get back with him. You know, if you ever watch the Toy Story movies, you know, those toys are always trying to stay with him or, you know, find a home. Mm-hmm. And so to me, they kind of go into that realm of imaginary friends as well, you know. But, you know, again, you know, talking about it from a Native American perspective, you know, when I was saying, you know, those were kind of the elements that, you know, your spiritual people would look at to help choose the next one, you know, because our medicine people, they used to have to be able to communicate with these different spirits, with these different beings. And so they always tried to pick people that had that open mind, you know, that kind of could see those things and do those things. And anyway, you know, I know growing up, I had a relative, and I kind of talked about this before, you know, when she was real little, like 2 or 3, you know, they said she had imaginary friends that she would play with, you know, and you know, kind of freaked a lot of her relatives out, you know, because she'd be in there talking in her room, and you could actually hear her visiting with somebody, you know, because it was a different voice, and it was on the opposite side of the room of her. You know, when you'd go in there wouldn't be nobody in there with her, but she would say, you know, she was visiting or playing with so-and-so. And, you know, when she got older, you know, when she got to be about 10 or 11, you know, she quit talking about this individual, and then she kept talking about seeing other people that have passed on. And she used to tell people, you know, so-and-so would come visit me. You know, they had a message for their family. And she would give these messages to the families. And, you know, of course, these families would get upset. You know, they'd be, of course, in mourning. And they'd hear this little girl tell them stories of, you know, with that loved one. Sometimes these weren't always good messages, if you know what I mean. But yet, you know, she was young enough, she didn't understand. You know, she just was told to tell these people, you know, a message. And they'd get mad, and, you know, they wouldn't want to listen. And, you know, when she got to be a teenager, you know, she kind of got discouraged, and she kind of quit doing those kind of things, because some people would really be mean to her about those messages, you know. But, you know, the bottom line is she was dead on with where these messages were coming from. And these messages that she would give to these families were, of course, pretty accurate, and I remember, when she kind of, when she got in trouble, how bad she would feel, because she just knew, she thought she was helping, getting these messages across, and her folks would tell her, you need to quit that, because these people don't even appreciate these things, and now that she's older, I don't see her doing that anymore, but I don't know if she can still do that or not. I've never stopped and asked her, or what, but I remember her being pretty accurate on these things. And, whether you consider those, well, her original one was an imaginary friend, supposedly, but I don't know, Then it came into her talking to families about these ones that have actually passed on. And I don't know, again, I was always told people that could do that, that would be your next spiritual people, and if somebody knew, they could have taken her and taught her the other things that she needed to know to make that, how you say, a special skill, I guess you might call it. But, by this time, they had moved off into a big city, and they didn't have those kind of people around her at that time, and now, she's older, I've never asked her, any questions, or, asked her if she still sees people like that, or, has she totally kind of blocked that kind of stuff off, and I remember when I posted this, I had someone call me up, and, the clinical side always says it's more females that do this, get imaginary friends, they have a real clinical reasoning behind that. But, I think, for our native males, sometimes these things can be kind of touchy, and most males, how you say, they're not going to talk about how they had a teddy bear, or, stuff, because that's not manly, you know what I mean? So I think personally, that's why you don't have a lot of males that come forward and say, even this individual that, got a hold of me, he said, don't be telling nobody who it was, but anyway, he talked about, he can remember his imaginary friend, and, his imaginary friend stayed with him quite a while. They say usually they lose them by 3 or 4, and definitely by, 6 years old, they pretty much have kind of mentally moved on. But, his even stayed with him even longer than that, and this, I think part of that was because, he didn't have a mother figure. He was raised by his father. His mother passed away in a car wreck. And, but, again, this is just all assumption, it's just, but he had this imaginary friend that stayed with him for a long time, kind of taught him things that he needed to know, because his father was always busy working, trying to make things, make a life for him, and, he talked about how this imaginary friend would come and, play with him and be his friend, and kind of taught him life lessons, helped him with, making choices, good choices. There was times he could recall, other kids doing negative things, and, this imaginary friend would tell him, say, you wouldn't be doing this, if your mom was around, you wouldn't be wanting to do things like this. It was always guiding him in a good way. And anyway, years had gone by, and he became, he can remember the time when he turned 15 that, he said this imaginary friend, basically just told him, said, I've taught you all I could teach you. I've given you all I've got, and that's kind of all I can do for you. The rest is kind of up to you. I've been here, and I've been here with you through the good times and bad times. I did my very best to kind of guide you, and it's time for me to move on. He remembered that, and he was sad. And anyway, to make a long story short, this imaginary friend left, and he was kind of sad. He just kind of that was kind of his only true friend that he had. He was kind of brought up in a place that he didn't have hardly too many relatives, and anyway, to make a long story short, he was just feeling bad and real sad. So, his dad, was, always working, but, he'd always come home, check on him, and he said, Jabon, something's bothering you. What's up? He was telling him, and his father said, well, sometimes, we as Indian folks, we have elders that come and, help us sometimes. And it might be that, it might be something like that, and so, anyway, make a long story short, he described his imaginary friend to his dad, and told him what this imaginary friend went by, the name. And come to find out, that same name and that same description was the same description and same name as his great-grandfather.
Whoa.
So, again, whether you consider that, imaginary friend, maybe, somebody had put that in his mind somewhere, somehow. He didn't think so. That's what he said. He said, I know people say, this and that. I could have got that information from somewhere. He said, but, as being native, we don't really write that kind of stuff down. It's all verbal. And he said, I didn't have no one around to tell me those kind of things. He said, my dad was always working.
And he said he left him when he was 15?
Mm-hmm.
That imaginary friend? Did he take a lot of what he said, like, I guess, he used it, I guess?
Yes, because this individual, I will say he's a successful native, has a successful business here in Oklahoma. I'll just say that much.
It's good. That's a blessing, though, to be able to kind of go through that and to have, I mean, like you said, he was kind of alone and didn't really have a lot of relatives, and then you have that, and then, I don't know, some people would probably freak out too, right? But, I mean, if they're giving you proper advice, maybe helping you, guiding you, I mean, that's truly like a blessing to be able to at least tell that story too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and to me, what I thought was pretty interesting about this story of this man. He is a successful native person here in Oklahoma, and the things that he said, the times that we've all been there. We've all been in trouble. We've all had to have guidance from somebody. And luckily, I know, like myself, I had parents and grandparents and aunts and uncles. This individual didn't have that, but he had this supposedly imaginary friend, that guided him and guided him good, helped him make some good decisions, helped him, when he was at his lowest point, gave him encouraging words. And that's what he'd said. This imaginary friend would talk to him like a grandpa would. Mm-hmm. And so when he said he explained that to his dad, and told him what that imaginary friend's name was, happened to be the same name as his great grandfather. Most of us Indian folks know, I know, like my great grandparents, they didn't have English names. They had Indian names. Mm-hmm. And it'd be hard to say, he got this from something else, other than where he got it from. And that's where, in this story, I truly believe that. I truly believe that probably was an ancestor of his, that one that was named.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I believe it too. And that was a good story. I like that. I like also the happy ending of it too, taking the advice and then building upon that. And I mean, it's got to be sad though when they tell you they're leaving. Mm-hmm. Like I taught you everything I can and giving you all the advice I can, and I got to go. Mm-hmm. And it's like, I don't know, it's just like, it's just always that feeling of like, oh man, why? Your best friend's leaving. Like,
yeah. As grown as I am, I still feel like I could use a parent's guidance. Mm-hmm. To me, I really have to commend people that still have their folks, because I don't. My mom and dad have gone. My aunts and uncles, they're gone. My grandparents, they're gone.
Yeah. It's tough, Chris. I know. I always think about that too. It's like when we get older, man, everybody else does. And it's like, it's hard to think of like everyone just kind of going out of our life. And I don't know, man, it's just like hard to think about. I think about that all the time and it's super tough, but I always think of like, I got you still, and I always come to you for advice. And I know that I always can when that happens to me too. So, and I know I got other family and friends and, you got me as well, so I'm always here to help however I can, with whatever. And I know it's the same for you with me. So, cause I mean, shoot, I grew up with you. Like I grew up with you like in Pawnee and just like as a kid, like you're an educator and, you've been there and I mean, and you've watched me like grow up. Like it's so crazy to think of that. How like just being a kid and now like we've just kind of come together like in this new age of whatever, you know? So
yeah, I just think it everybody, longs for that, and to me that story was very touching. I related to that quite a bit, and I know there's a lot of people out there too that kind of would do anything to have somebody like that around. So I think that was a good story, and I know like I always said, there's good ones, but then there's also not so good ones, and this one is what you might consider not so good. And this individual, again, it's another male. And, again, males, they don't want to, say, that they had stuff like this too. So, this individual, he grew up in the Minneapolis area. And anyway, he said, he was raised around his people, his tribe. And anyway, I'll just say that much, and him and his family were very active in their native culture, and so he was, very knowledgeable of his ways, and but he said growing up, he had, again, this it was kind of like he described it as kind of like an animal. It would come to him and it would talk to him, but it wasn't. He said it was familiar to a squirrel, but it wasn't a squirrel. And he said it was just a kind of a furry black animal. That's how he described it. And it would come and it would play games with him and it would talk to him. And he said it would always get him in trouble. And he said, it would do some bad things and he would get blamed for it, and he'd always say, it's this guy that did it. And, of course, his folks would say, quit doing that. He said, you need to take responsibility of your own actions. You doing stuff and you breaking stuff and you stealing stuff and, all this, it's wrong. You shouldn't be doing that. He goes, well, it's not me. It's not me. I'm not doing that. It's him. Yeah. Said, no. So you're the only one here, guy. So you're the one, it's in your possession. It's in your room. And so, it started off small like that, things missing and it'd show up in his room or, things would be broken and he'd be the only one around. It's kind of started off kind of small like that. But as time went on, things got even worse. People were starting to get hurt and, he started to also get kind of sick. And at an early age, he began to contemplate suicide, and of course his folks, got help for him. And, of course, they took him to a psychologist and psychiatrist. And with the help of both, they were, giving him, I don't know how you say, one would talk to him and the other one would give him the appropriate medication. So they were working on him and, he kept saying, it's not me, it's this thing, and one of the doctors asked him to draw it, and he drew it, and and he said, that's the guy that keeps telling me to do this to hurt myself, and he's telling me that, if I do this, all my problems will come to an end, and of course, they ended up putting him in inpatient facility, because he began to start to harm himself. And he said it wasn't him that was doing those cuts to him. It was that thing. That thing would, wait till he goes to sleep and would cut him. And he said that, that thing was always around, and finally, I guess, one of his relatives came and visited him in an inpatient, and he was telling him, he said, I think I need to see somebody, I think I need to get taken care of. And he said, well, did you talk to your folks? And said, they don't believe me. They believe these doctors here. They think it's this way. So anyway, make a long story short, he that relative contacted a spiritual person within their tribe, and they were able to come and visit him in that inpatient. And, of course, they talked to the doctors and said, if it'd be all right, I'd like to do a small ceremony for this individual. Maybe it might help him, and of course the doctors, they were kind of reluctant at first, but then they thought, well, if it does help him mentally, let's, give it a shot. So anyway, make a long story short, they had to go through a lot of paperwork. They finally was able to do this, and they did their ceremony for this individual. And this medicine person was able to get rid of this entity that was bothering him. And anyway, to make a long story short, after that ceremony, even the doctors were shocked that this young man, he just not only changed mentally, but actually physically. I mean, he just changed. He just was different looking. And that medicine person said, that's because that thing left. That thing actually left him. He said, I got it away from him. But, there's things that he's going to have to continue to do to keep that thing away from him. So anyway, to make a long story short, that guy's grown up now. He still believes that it was negative entity. I know, like I was saying, the clinical side, they always talk about, how children, or tragedy or, big events can cause humans to kind of recreate, an imaginary friend. And I've said this many times on this podcast. If you don't believe that these things are real, you go visit your homeless shelters. You go visit these guys in rehab. And they're going to tell you that these things are real. These things, just like this man was talking about, this thing that was coming in and visiting him. It started out when he was young. The older he got, it got more profound till it came to a problem. And if you ever watch homeless people, sometimes they're out there talking to people. Mm-hmm. They're arguing with people, or, they're laughing, or, and again, whether you want to look at it at the clinical side or whatever, however you want to look at it, it's still happening. I mean, if you don't believe it, go out there and look. I said, you can go to these places and see these individuals that not only are children, but grown adults that are having these kind of imaginary friend type entities.
True. Yeah, there's a story I was reading, and it goes along with I guess the bad ones, but it was this little girl, and her mom. They lived together. Of course, they lived together, but she was a single mom, and they just moved to this house in, I believe, Philadelphia, Philly, and they moved in, and all of a sudden, it was normal, and then months went by. And then the mom started noticing that the little girl would talk in her room, and she would go in there and say, who are you talking to? And nobody was in there. And the little girl would say, oh, my friend. And so the mom kind of blew it off she's just having fun. Well, then more months went by, and the little girl started drawing this man. It was like a man, and I mean, she was 4, 5, 6 maybe, and she started drawing this man and the house they lived in, and she would write leave or get out, you're not welcomed here. She would write that with the drawings that she drew. And so her mom was kind of is this who you're seeing? Is this the man, your imaginary friend? And she said, yeah. And his name was, I forgot his name, but turns out the lady did some research, and it wasn't the previous owner. It was the previous owner before that one, and it was his house. And so he was still there, and I forgot his name, but everything checked out to the same name. It was an older male, and he died in like his 70s, and that was his house. And that's who she was seeing and drawing. And he was wanting them to leave and get out, but he was telling it to her, that her child, and she would draw it out and stuff. And so the mom got freaked out, and I think they stayed there for maybe one more year and they left. And yeah, that was a story I read on Reddit, and it was like, whoa. Dang. So it goes along with like drawing them and, you know, relaying those messages, I guess, you know, like good or bad. And it just like the whole imaginary friend thing. And I was trying to think back if I remember anybody that had an imaginary friend. And I think my cousin did for a little bit, I think. But it wasn't too crazy. It was just kind of like they would just have a conversation, and that was mainly it. And then it just kind of stopped after that. But it's like I vaguely remember that. But nobody really asked him, you know, who you talking to, or I think people just kind of thought they were he was talking to himself maybe. So I don't know. But that was like the other. That's what I can remember. If anybody from Pawnee had an imaginary friend, let me know. Let me know. We'll keep you anonymous if you want. Yeah. Oh yeah, I was gonna ask you. So would LPs be considered imaginary friends too? Like, I know they're real, but like, I guess for people that wouldn't know, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, there's several stories of, you know, LPs coming and visiting children and being helpful, and they stay for a little bit till they teach them something. You know, if they like them, they're going to give them something, you know, a gift of something, and they'll work with them and teach them, and then eventually they'll go on. You know, and that's what I kind of talk about. You know, there's different entities out there like that, like the LPs, and there's other entities out there, you know, even like across the waters, you know, they got those gnomes and fairies and, you know, all these things, they come to children, you know, and a lot of times they don't consider them like imaginary friends until they realize what they truly are. You know, and sometimes they've got good intentions, and sometimes they got bad intentions. So, you know, again, there's a lot of entities out there that kind of deal with children. You know, they're just attracted to children because children have that open mind. They got that imagination that these things can communicate with real easy, and that's why they're drawn to kids. So.
Yeah, I want to ask that because I have a story here, and they want to remain anonymous, but it says, I was raised to be cautious of LPs and their intentions. My sons were 3 and 1. My 3-year-old loved to play outside. I told him to stay by the porch. I told him to stay by the porch. One day I heard him talking outside to someone. I freaked out because I saw no one. I told him to come inside. I asked who he was talking to, and he said, my friend. And I said, okay, so I blew it off. As time goes by, I could hear him really talking to his friend. In one instance, he got mad at his friend for taking his toy. Another time, he came to me scared because his friend was being mean. I didn't pay much attention at first because I thought he was just pretending. This went on for a few months. One day, I could hear him answering questions. He says, my mom is a nice mom. No, she's not mean to me. At first, I thought it was LPs. I called him to come here. I asked if he wanted to watch a movie with me, and he said yes. I asked who he was talking to as we picked the movie out, and he said my friend. I asked if his friend was smaller or bigger than him, and he said the same size. I asked if his friend was a girl or boy. He said girl. And then I asked, what did she look like? And he said she has white hair, a sore in the back of her head, and a sore on her face. And by the time he was on the couch next to me, I asked what happened to her. He told me her dad was mean to her. He goes on to say when he first saw her, he was scared. And then he asked, Mom, why did her dad hurt her? I said, I don't know. Sometimes moms and dads can be mean. I said, tell your friend not to be scared. It's okay now. A few days later, he came to me and said his friend left. I asked, where did she go? And he said, I don't know. She just told me she was leaving. I got goosebumps.
Yeah. That's a good one.
Yeah. Yeah. And then they sent another one. Also keep me anonymous, but I was raised by my grandmother, and she had a tribal home in Wowoka. She always told me to stay close to the house and don't wander off. I was maybe 5-ish and outside playing. The sun was starting to set, so my grandma yells that I have to come in the house for a little bit, or in a little bit. I say, okay. My grandma had junk cars lined up in her yard. They were maybe 50 feet away from the house, and I happened to look up and see a small red man with horns behind one of the cars. I froze, but then he smiled. I could see his rows of sharp teeth. He then waved at me, so I waved back. I thought I was seeing things, so I tilted my head to the right, and he did too. So I tilted my head to the left, and he did too. He smiled and then ducked behind the car, so I got up and ran to where he was only to see nothing. I ran to where he was to only see nothing. So I ran to the house saying, Grandma, Grandma, there was a red man behind the car. He looked like the devil. He waved at me and I waved back. Every time I moved my head like this, he did too. I had to stay in the house with her, and my uncle checked around the house, and they saw nothing, and I never saw him again.
Wow.
And then she said after that, my grandma took me to a medicine man.
Dang.
After seeing a little red man with horns.
Yeah.
Have you heard anything like that in Wowoka?
Yeah, they got all kinds of things roaming around down there.
Oh, really?
Those things that you just explained in that story, that little red devil looking things. These tribes down this way, down the Wewoka, Seminoles, and Creeks, those Miccosukes, even Cherokees, they have what they call booger masks, and they actually have their own spirit, and a lot of those spirits can be described just like what she described in this story.
Wow.
So, again, these things have their own spirits to them, and maybe the mask might be around, or maybe it got broken, or it's underground somewhere. Again, these things have a lot of power to them, and they can manifest. And when you have these dealings with these entities, you will have to go to someone and have them take care of it.
Dang. I didn't even think of that. Those booger masks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Man. Yeah, that, hold on, I'm seeing if she said any more. No, she just said, great show. I appreciate you guys for telling these stories and just sharing information and everything. And yeah, thank you. You know who you are. We'll keep you anonymous.
I had a couple that were just saying that they had it. Sarah Smile. She said she had an imaginary friend. Not sure what happened to her, but heard I was mean to her. I said, God. But let's see. Oh, don't. I asked her, was she helpful, or did she do anything? And she replied, don't think so. What my mom remembers was I was always punishing her. I didn't let her eat, and she was always in my playroom or the dinner table. That's it. I don't remember her, but my mom does. Dang.
Wow. Dang.
And then Jen Hansel said, something grabbed my hand from being smashed and helped me when I was scared once. Totally not just random chance. That was my imaginary friend.
Dang.
Teresa Ann Rice, she said, my imaginary friend stood in the corner at night and watched me sleep. And she describes it, it was a tall person like a figure. I knew it wasn't there to bother me, but I would wake up at night and I could see it in the corner, dark shape with a bowler hat. I didn't know what a bowler hat was then because I was little, but I do now. I actually don't know what it was cause. I had a sleepover and one of my friends said they seen it too, but sometimes when I was playing by myself, I could hear it saying things and no one was around. Just words like look or over there, and then I would find a toy or something to play with.
Dang. Chris got the heat.
Let's see. Alex Ponka Stock said, I did. My aunt said it was creepy because I would insist that they be considered at mealtime. That's all I know because my aunt told me I creeped her out. If y'all want to visit Alex Ponka Stock, y'all can go down to Indigia Chic. She could probably tell you for sure about that story. So y'all go down there and help them out. But, again, there's several stories out there about, different, ways of how these imaginary friends can be helpful. And then some that are just not so good. And so, I know within Indian country, we look at kids that are starting to talk to, corners or, people in the dark, most Indian folks, they'll run out of the house. So that kid's crazy. They need to be blessed like that. So, again, I know in the Indian country, we look at these imaginary friends as, in a different light, and, these small communities, you'll hear stories about these things that, they don't like to really share. And so, again, if you guys got any stories out there like that you would like to share, please send it to us. We'd like to definitely use it, again, if we have future recordings or, whatever, we'd always be happy to read these and give credit if you want credit. If not, you want us to keep your name back, we can definitely do that too.
Yeah. Please send in your stories, imaginary friends, or just anything spooky related, paranormal, even like good stories like what we told about getting that sound advice and guidance, from spirit maybe. We'll be happy to share them. And yeah, if you want to be kept anonymous, let us know. Or if you want your name out there, yeah, well, we can do that too.
Another famous imaginary friend, I think, the world all got to know was Jody the Pig. You guys know what movie that came from? Amityville.
Oh, really?
Based on a true story, that Jody the Pig was actually a character, but it was also a real entity. That's what people, they forget, that Jody was, I think in the newer version showed her as a little girl, but the original writings, how she described her was like a little pig. Like that other guy was talking about, that black squirrel. Sometimes these things can come as animals. And, that's where, to me, that's where those LPs come into play. Because they can shapeshift like that. They can do things like that. To me, when I heard, the original story of that Jody the Pig, how it would show up and, play with that little girl. And, finally, mom kept getting on to her and she finally saw it, staring at her, off the porch. I think in the movie it was through a window, but in the writings it was on a porch. Anyway, make a long story short, either way it goes, you see something like that, it's going to blow your mind, and that's, definitely, stuff that you'll hear in Indian country. They don't always come as, children or parents or grandparents. Sometimes they can come, like that one story you read was like a big guy in a big rabbit suit. I had heard a similar story like that. This individual was talking about how when he was a little kid, they had moved to a new house in New Hampshire, and this house that they got, it was an old house, and it was huge. And this little boy said in his room he had this clown that would come and visit him at night, and sometimes during the daytime that clown would come in and play games with him and always do magic tricks for him, and they were cool and funny magic tricks. This kid really enjoyed it, and finally, I guess that clown kind of got mad at that little boy, for some reason. And anyway, I'll make a long story short, that clown left, and said, "I'm not never gonna come back." So little boy was upset and crying around, and told his folks, and they said, "Well, it's probably just, probably for the best anyway." That the little boy was telling one of the neighbors, about this, and was kind of mad because of that clown, had said some things, made that little boy mad too, and so the neighbor went and told the parents, said, that your boy is describing the owner of this house. He was a clown. He was a famous clown in the area, and he was known to do magic tricks. He'd do all the birthday parties and all that stuff. And so he had a massive heart attack in that house and died. And so they said, I don't know, guys might need to go to church or something. But yeah, that little boy's describing that previous owner.
What? That's crazy, man. I don't know. I was just thinking that clown getting mad. That'd be scary to me. All of a sudden he's smiling and just.
I thought, dang! Out of all these clown movies, they got the It and what else? They have other killer clowns.
Oh, killer clowns from outer space.
And all that. I don't know. If I seen a clown, I don't know. I'd be gone.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know, just like that. But I don't know. I just keep thinking about how I got mad, and in my head I can visually see it, like having a good time, laughing. Then all of a sudden when that's mad, it just droops, like the face droops down, and it's just like terrifying, and it just leaves. So that's yeah. I mean, that other story too, it's like the same thing, like just previous house owners, I guess, that have died there, and they're just kind of making themselves known. But that's pretty cool though, like to see magic tricks. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I bet he had killer magic tricks since he's a spirit too, boy. So watch this.
I wonder why he got mad.
I don't know. I was thinking about that too. So what'd that little boy do? He must have said, "Oh, that's fake." No. So I don't know how you did that. You did it this way. You know how those magicians are, boy. You can't be telling nobody's magic trick. They get mad, boy. I said, "Boy, don't you know who I am? I'm Bozo." No. Bozo the Clown. No.
Yeah, I want to know why he got mad. But there's just one where I want to tell Chris and show Chris this picture. But so this story, it's just around, and I'm sure you could find it somewhere. But it's this girl. She has an imaginary friend. Her dad's like, well, whatever. You know how parents are. How they've all been throughout this episode. And so anyway, he takes her to McDonald's Playhouse, in that playground area with the tubes, and they climb in there and stuff. And so she climbs in it. She's all playing around in it. And she's up in this tube with the glass where you can see them. And all of a sudden, he's trying to take her picture. And when he does, he snaps this.
Golly, that is scary.
And he didn't see it when he was taking a picture, but after it, that's what showed up with her.
Dang.
And so she's saying that that's the imaginary friend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He looks like someone I know. No. Yeah. Dang it. That's scary.
Chris is scared right now.
I know. I'm pretty scared now. You guys need to see this, though.
Yeah. I'm gonna post a picture on there, but yeah, I wanted to show you that and some little bit of proof of an imaginary friend that this little girl talks to.
Yeah.
See, I don't know the year though. I mean, it's got to be pretty old. I mean, the picture kind of looks pixelated and dated, and then it's a McDonald's playground. They don't even have those anymore.
I know it.
So I mean, I don't know the year. I don't know when any of this was taken, but yeah, I mean, if you look it up, the name's Berto. That's his name, that imaginary friend.
Yeah.
Because when her dad asked her, like, who are you talking to? She said, my friend Berto. And then he snapped that picture and he said, okay, so apparently this is Berto.
That looks like a Berto too. Well, if I ever seen a Berto, that's a Berto.
That's a Roberto,
God.
a.k.a. Robin Jackson from the classic Wolf. No, just kidding.
God.
Just kidding, Rob.
God.
No, but yeah, I wanted to show Chris that, and because it's a creepy picture. It's pretty scary. I'm gonna stop looking at it.
Yeah. That's kind of what I wanted to kind of I don't know, make some say about this. I know there's clinical sides, and I'm sure that some of that is probably true. I'm not saying it isn't. But, I know as Native Americans, a lot of entities, they go to children, whether it's spirits or LPs or some of these unholy spirits, So, again, I know most people in Indian country, if your kid starts experiencing an imaginary friend, I know most Indians will start smoking their place off or smudging or, doing something that, appropriate action just in case it's not clinical. And, I want to kind of say, just a little bit on that too. If you do have a child out there, for whatever reason, might be having an imaginary friend, I definitely would, listen and hear them out, because, I know, I think it was last year, I think it was around this time, last year, one of my grandsons, he lives over here in Broken Arrow, he was complaining to his parents that something kept looking in his window, and, he kept trying to tell his folks, and his folks would go out and check, and say, oh, you just watch too many spooky stories, or you hanging out with grandpa too long, and said, your imagination get way with you. But it just kept going on and on. It lasted for a long time, and finally he called me up. He said, Grandpa, he said, I know you always going looking for things, how do you catch something? How do you get evidence, that something's there? And I said, well, sometimes it's hard. I gave him the whole spiel, sometimes you can have the best equipment out there and, you don't catch nothing, but it's what you experience and in your heart, that's what, is the ultimate goal is, what I said, but sometimes I said, you can get different cameras and point them different ways, and I said, if you run it long enough, you might just catch it, every now and then. So, My grandson, he's kind of high-tech guy, little bitty guy. He's got all these phones, you know. Anytime anybody in his family get rid of a phone, he takes it, you know. So he's got all these different cameras, you know. So he marked that room up, and he caught something with glowing eyes looking through his window.
Whoa.
And he finally showed that to his folks, and his folks finally believed him on that. And I put that picture up on my Instagram, so you guys don't believe, look at my Instagram account, and down there you'll see my grandson sitting on the bed with his back towards the window, and there's a camera in front of him facing that window, and you can see something staring into the window.
Whoa. How recent was that?
That was, well, I want to say last year, but it must have been 2 years ago.
2 years ago?
Yeah.
Golly. Do you still see it?
No, we had that thing taken care of.
Okay.
So, okay. I mean, after his folks finally believed him, you know, it took many nights, you know, for them to finally, you know, he finally got mad and wanted to prove he was right, and he did it. So, again, I just want to encourage you parents out there, sometimes it's not always just made up. Mm-hmm. Hear them out, you know, because you never know.
Yeah, most definitely. Hear them out, or they might take it in their own hands and get footage.
I know it.
Get proof.
Yep. Or worse, those things might take off with them. So
True.
You don't want that. So.
True. Yeah, if you have any stories about imaginary friends, still send them. Yep, we will read them, and we're always looking for that kind of content, and tell them where to follow you, Chris.
You can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube under Christopher Honka Hill. Mado.
You can follow me at RussellMus49 at Okie Podcast, Russell Sunny on Facebook. You can follow us, Spirit Talkers, on Instagram at Spirit Talkers Podcast. TikTok, Spirit_Talkers. You can follow or subscribe to our YouTube channel. Hit that bell, get notified, Spirit Talkers Podcast, and follow us on Facebook under the same name. I'd say Google us, you would find us, and then subscribe to Apple, Spotify, Audible, wherever you listen to podcasts. I'm sure we're there. So, and go check out Southwest Trading Company. Go check them out. They're in Tulsa, Oklahoma. They got a lot of amazing stuff. They were at the Native American Christmas Market 2023, and they had a bunch of stuff there for sale. The store is even better. They got everything there, so go check them out. And I'm sure they're going to be set up in more places within 2024. And also go check out Native Co. Bead and Supply. They're in Ada, Oklahoma. They were also at the Native American Christmas Market. So once again, check them out, follow them, follow both of them, keep up with them for all events happening at the store, and wherever they're going to be set up. They're going to be set up in a lot of places, so keep up with them and let them know that Spirit Talkers did send you. And yeah, I guess until next time, everybody.
Mado.
And check out Pinky's Woodshop.
Yeah.
Yeah.